Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King. So The Eyes of the Dragon is a young adult fantasy novel set in the kingdom of Delain. In the novel, Delain's king, King Roland, not to be confused with Roland Deschain, is murdered. Roland also has two sons, Peter and Thomas. Thomas becomes the new king, while Peter is framed for the murder and is imprisoned for it, and it's up to him to prove his innocence and clear his name. So being the Stephen King fan that I am, this was a very different experience for me. Not only because it isn't a horror novel written by King, but also because I'm not really into the YA or young adult fiction genre. And I'm also not massive on fantasy literature despite growing up with the Harry Potter movies. That being said, I actually enjoyed The Eyes of the Dragon, and not just because of the Dark Tower connections. So let's get into it. So first of all, I really like the contrast between the two brothers, that being Peter and Thomas. Peter, being the eldest of the two, inherited his mother's good looks and his father's love of the common man, and he's often openly favored and adored by the people of Delain. So much so that had it not been for the unfortunate murder of his father, he would have very likely become the next king. Most of his character development occurs during his imprisonment, and his attempted prison escape is actually very unique. You know, without giving too much away, part of it involves a dollhouse of all things. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, Prison Break's got nothing on this. Thomas, on the other hand, has often felt overshadowed by Peter, to the point of becoming resentful of him. And even upon becoming king, the only person he can turn to for comfort is the main antagonist, Randall Flagg, who we all know as the Man in Black from the Dark Tower series and The Stand. This isn't a spoiler of sorts, because it's pretty much established from the get-go that he murdered King Roland. In The Eyes of the Dragon, he serves as the king's royal advisor, and it's here that you really get a comprehensive understanding of just how long he's been around for and what he's been doing in that time, long before the events of the Dark Tower. I also like the fact that this wasn't a typical fantasy story, you know. This isn't Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or Wheel of Time or anything like that. You know, it's not a case of the characters going on an epic adventure or quest of sorts, as it's very grounded, very small scale, and a bit grim at times. So maybe kids should be wary before reading this book, as there is some violent content. The book is a quick read. It's about 370 pages, at least my copy was. It explores themes such as revenge, brotherhood, and especially independence. This book has Dark Tower connections in it. You know, aside from Randall Flagg appearing in some of the Dark Tower books, there's a witch character that also shows up in one of them. The ending to The Eyes of the Dragon is briefly mentioned in the second Dark Tower book, The Drawing of the Three. So with all that in mind, this is definitely worth reading alongside the Dark Tower series. And without giving away too much, the ending was perfect, you know. Some stories have the happiest ending possible, while others tend to have the bleakest ending possible. This book, however, finds the perfect compromise. Now, there aren't that many flaws with The Eyes of the Dragon, but the first one is the pacing. You know, given how small scale the story is, even despite its short length, it tended to drag in the middle, but thankfully towards the end it does pick up the pace a little bit. And even for a YA fantasy novel that came out in the 80s, it is a tad bit formulaic and predictable, but I still enjoyed it despite all that. So yeah, those are my thoughts on The Eyes of the Dragon. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of the genre and if you're a fan of Stephen King. You know, if you want to take a break from all the horror related stuff that King writes, this is a nice little detour. So as for next time guys, we're going to be returning to the world of television. And I'm going to be starting my long-awaited retrospective on 24 with the review of Season 1. I'm going to review the entire series leading up to Kiefer Sutherland's brand new show, Rabbit Hole. So look forward to that soon, and yeah, thank you all for watching guys. Please be sure to like the video, share it, and subscribe. Ring the bell, take care, and I'll see you soon.